Hi, welcome to HowtoDandD. My name is Fred Weller and today I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. And the topic for today is, are you an orangutan? No, it's not. It's got nothing to do with that whatsoever. No, we're talking Dungeons and Dragons, how to fix Spare the Dying in Dungeons and Dragons 5e. Ho ho, what a topic to talk about. I can see the comments are going to be flying hard and fast with this one, but I'm going to make it clear. I do believe that Spare the Dying does need fixing. If you are the kind of person who believes there are no problems with Spare the Dying, this is the wrong video and topic for you, and you should go and watch one of my other videos, not this video, because this video is very much about trying to fix Spare the Dying. I will offer 5 variant rules for Spare the Dying and a bonus tip at the very end. So stick around to the very end so you can see what I have to say about Spare the Dying. Now, if you want to look for Spare the Dying, you will find it on page 277 of the Player's Handbook. And basically this spell is a cantrip. It has a casting time of 1 action. It's touch. You have to get it right up close. It has a verbal somatic component. It's instantaneous. Necromancy is the skill. And it is classified as a type of healing. You can touch a living creature that has 0 hit points. That means they still have to be living. They can't be dead. The creature becomes stable. This spell has no effect on undead or constructs. And that is a very simple spell. But tied in there are a whole bunch of problems. And what I would like to do is I would like to pull this apart for you just a bit. So why does the Spare the Dying cantrip need fixing? Why do we even go there? I'm going to give you the reasons I think it needs to be fixed, and then of course you will have to weigh in later on. First off, the Healer's Kit does the same thing for 5 gold pieces, not expensive. A first level character can do this. You can use it 10 times. And all you do is a medicine check and automatically stabilize a creature as an action. Exactly the same thing as the cantrip. And all you do is buy this renewables resource. It's something that, it's a limited resource that you can keep buying. It's not an issue. It's not expensive. You can buy them anywhere. The Healer's Kit is basic adventuring gear. That means anybody can use it and anybody can buy it. So that's the biggest problem with Spare the Dying as far as I see it. The Spare the Dying cantrip, it only stabilizes a dying creature. It does not actually bring them conscious. They're still unconscious. They're not dying anymore, but they're just still lying on the ground there, really doing nothing. You might want to use this on an NPC to save their life. You most likely can't stabilize a non-player character or a monster or a creature or a beast if your dungeon master has them die when they reach 0 hit points, which frankly is the standard operating procedure for most dungeon masters and is the standard operating procedure listed in the Player's Handbook, except for very important NPCs, creatures and monsters and such. So therefore you're not necessarily going to be using it on a non-player character or a monster. And that is not very useful, particularly if you want somebody to interrogate later on. The characters are still out of the fight. Even if you use this cantrip, they may not be dying, but they are not in the fight. They are going to be lying there doing nothing while you stick it out. The characters stabilized, but they are still extremely vulnerable to being killed by future attacks, which could happen from the environment or from the dungeon master using their monsters, doing the most sensible thing, which is to finish off their target, or if it's a beast, trying to eat the downed creature or downed character who's been stabilized. And that is just going to cause a whole bunch more problems. So therefore, not hugely sensible to use Spare the Dying unless you've really got no spells left and there's nothing else you can do and you've used every single use of your Healer's Kit. Spare the Dying uses up a valuable cantrip known slot. You don't get that many cantrips. You have to be choosy about them, And Spare the Dying is one of those things that is going to chew up one of those known slots or known spells for the cantrip. So variant rules for fixing Spare the Dying. I have searched the internet, I have pulled from everywhere, and I have included some that I have used myself. So here we go. Number 1 on my list. Change the casting time to a bonus action. Most common suggestion is just change the casting time from one action to a bonus action. This makes it better than the healer's kit, and you can also use your action to do something else, like make an attack or cast a spell, which makes an awful lot of sense, right? Casting a spell that's a cantrip, that is, because you've just used a cantrip as a bonus action. Number 2 is extend the spell range to 30 feet. That's right, instead of touch, you can use it at a range of 30 feet. This way your character can still cast the spell if you can't get close enough to the dying creature or character to touch them. There are very few occasions when this might happen, but it does crop up from time to time, so that would make it far more useful than having a healer's kit. Spare the Dying, extend the range. Number 3 is allow multiple allies or creatures to be stabilized at a range of 30 feet. And how many can you stabilize? Well, you can stabilize a number equal to the spellcaster's casting modifier. That's right, there are restrictions on it, but it still works really well and therefore much more useful. This is much more likely to be useful at low levels of play when large numbers of the party can wind up going down. At high level play, you usually don't have multiple allies falling over. Therefore, it's really unlikely. And at high level play, you don't often run out of spells. You probably will have slots left over, unless of course the Dungeon Master's really working you hard. Now, the cantrip doesn't scale up, but being able to stabilize multiple allies does have some sort of scaling effect to it. Okay, number 4, option number 4. Instead of the creature becoming stable when you use this cantrip, it's going to regain 1 hit point and become conscious. Wow. Now, much better than the healer's kit, gets the character back in the battle, and it's more in line with what players expect. Players were expecting Spare the Dying to be more useful than what it currently is. And I think that probably does it. Now, I would like to point out that this version of the cantrip it's already been play tested. It was dumped by the design team. Okay, it was discarded and considered too powerful. So if you're going to use this, be aware that it has been tested and the design team decided it was not suitable for play. But we've got a number 5. We've got an option 5, and this might feel a bit better to you. Number 5 is the creature regains 1 hit point as before if it is dying, and it becomes conscious, but you also gain 1 level of exhaustion by using this cantrip on a creature who is dying. Okay, so better than version 4, probably the one that makes the most sense to me. It's not as good as the Paladin's Lay on Hands, but then the Paladin's Lay on Hands probably should be pretty good compared to a cantrip. And it makes a lot of sense. And there is a disadvantage to using the cantrip, but you still get the player back into the fight rather than lying on the ground. Or should I say the player's character back in the fight. We're not going to get the players back in the fight. If they're there, then that's going to be really messy, isn't it? Okay, so bonus tip. My bonus tip to you is just remove the cantrip from the Dungeons & Dragons 5e game. I know that sounds brutal, but the spell is just not useful enough at higher levels of play. As you level up, it just won't be used at all. In fact, you're probably going to want to go to your Dungeon Master and say, can I swap out this cantrip because I never use it anymore? Because at high level play you have so many spell slots. So high level play, not very useful. If you try to make changes to this cantrip, as I have suggested, you wind up duplicating existing spells, or you make it overpowered. So I suggest just ditch it from the game so that some poor player doesn't wind up selecting this and getting bummed out later on. Okay, now if you found this video useful and helpful, excellent. I do have other videos on variant rules for Dungeons & Dragons 5e, which you are welcome to go and check out if you want to. If you want to support the channel so I keep doing video content like this, you can do that through Patreon, through the Amazon affiliate links that I have down in the description. You can also check out my merchandise shelf underneath my video, or just keep watching my videos, that's fine too. Make sure to share, like and subscribe, hit the bell button to be notified when I go live and when I publish new videos. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s.